So, you've been labeled as an anti-immigrant. Now, it's one thing to have a problem with illegal immigration, but there are so many around the world, not least of all in India, who aspire to be legal immigrants in the United Kingdom, enter the United Kingdom as students, and then perhaps get an opportunity of being there either on a skilled worker visa or initially on a graduate worker visa. If the United Kingdom doesn't give the same opportunities that have once existed, then I would suggest that your universities would be poorer because the UK wouldn't be perhaps number one as a choice for Indian students.
So look, on the issue of migration, you're right. Look, I come from a family of immigrants, and I'm very proud that the UK is a multi-ethnic, multi-faith democracy, and I'm living proof of that. But I think, look, we have to separate on migration. There are two very clear policy areas that require focus, particularly in the UK. The first is the issue of illegal migration. And we've had an issue of people coming to our country illegally, and that's not acceptable. I mean, obviously from a very practical issue of security, it should be for the government who decides who comes to your own country. But also, as I said, it's just fundamental to our sovereignty, to any nation's sovereignty, that the people of that country decide who is coming. And that's why this issue of illegal migration is so important. And I set out a bunch of measures to tackle it, which at the time felt radical, but I'm pleased now many countries in Europe have said the same things that I said back then about changing some of our outdated international frameworks to help us deal with this problem and send people away if they come illegally. So that's the first part. And look, on the topic of legal migration, what happened after COVID is the numbers in the UK really soared much higher than anyone expected or was appropriate. And that's why I took strong action to start bringing them down, which they are now doing. And I think it's important that that is seen through and seen through to completion. Alongside that, of course, the UK and every country wants to be a beacon for the world's most talented people to come and help contribute economically, to help grow the economy. And I'm struck, you see the success of the Indian diaspora all around the world, particularly though in technology and entrepreneurial companies. The UK, I think, like the US, I think there are some studies which show almost half of the fastest growing, particularly tech businesses, are founded by immigrants. And I think that's an important thing for us to keep in the back of our heads as we think about driving future growth and making sure that we are always a beacon for the world's most talented, skilled people who are willing to come and contribute economically, but I think crucially also integrate into society. Because what we can't have is people living separate lives. It's important that there's integration and some common bonds.
Because you took a very strong stand on immigration. On that topic, did you find the spotlight then turned on you? Personally, how did you then strike the balance? Because you've been also very open and vocal about your immigrant roots. We had you lighting a diya. We also had you doing Gau Puja in UK. And then you're taking a very strong stand on immigration. How did you strike that balance?
Yeah. Look, I think you put it very well, actually, about the things that were going on in my mind. I should repeat what I said before. The UK, I'm proud, is a multi-faith, multi-ethnic democracy. And in fact, when I became Prime Minister, first non-white Prime Minister, first Hindu Prime Minister, in a sense that was a remarkable thing. But actually what was more remarkable was that no one made a particularly big deal of it. And I think that spoke to that multi-faith, multi-ethnic tolerance that I've touched on. And I took the action I did on migration because I think it's important. I think it's because I come from a family of migrants that this issue of illegal migration really offends me, because Britain is built as a country where fairness is important to us, rules is important to us. We stand in queues when no one else does, and that's who we are as a people. So when people jump the queue and come to our country illegally, it undermines that tolerance that I think is at the heart of our society's fabric. But look, I made a commitment to myself when I entered into politics. I wasn't going to change who I was. And I was comfortable with that, and Akshay and I talked about it. So that's why I was happy lighting the Diwali diyas in Downing Street and painting Rangoli, and actually later that night, with the bit that no one saw, which was nice, and the cameras didn't film it, we did sparklers with our two daughters on the street. And I was never going to change who I was. Because of politics. I made that commitment to myself, and so for me, in a sense, it wasn't a balance. That was just something that was non-negotiable to me.